All right, let's just dive right into this explainer by acknowledging a pretty universal truth. When it comes to money, we are all systematically irrational. Seriously. But hey, good news right off the bat. It's actually just our biology at work, not some deep character flaw. Today, we're unpacking the wild behavioral economics behind our wallets. We're going to see how our financial decisions are driven way more by cognitive biases, emotions, and social factors than by any actual rational calculation.
I mean, have you ever done this? You're at an online checkout, and just to save a tiny little delivery fee, you willingly spend more money on things you absolutely do not need, right? Why do we buy 200 rupees of literal junk just to get free shipping on a 500 rupee order? It makes absolutely zero mathematical sense. And yet, these frustrating, completely irrational money mistakes happen to all of us. Well, we're going to diagnose exactly why.
You see, we love to picture ourselves as these walking, talking spreadsheets. We think we're making choices with a perfectly logical brain that just computes absolute value. But the reality is quite a bit different. We are actually navigating this highly complex modern financial world using ancient biological hardware, our human brain. It's wired for survival, it's heavily influenced by emotions, and honestly, it's riddled with cognitive biases that fundamentally warp how we even see money.
So here's our game plan for today. 1. The brain's money problem. 2. The pain of losing. 3. The value of right now. 4. Mental traps and others. And finally, 5. Beating your own brain.
Let's get right into Section 1, the brain's money problem, and how our minds literally bend the rules of math.
Consider the difference between getting a tax refund and your regular salary. This perfectly highlights something called mental accounting. Now, logically, money is fungible, right? A rupee is a rupee no matter where it comes from. But our brains? They put money into completely different imaginary buckets depending on its source. We'll budget our monthly salary with extreme discipline, but the second we get a tax refund, we treat it like free money and just spend it freely, even though mathematically, they're the exact same thing.
Which brings us to anchoring. So when you see a price tag that says, was 5,000 rupees, now 2,999, the retailer is actually exploiting your brain's heavy reliance on the very first number it sees. That initial 5,000 rupee figure drops a heavy anchor in your mind, and it artificially pulls your perception of value way up. Suddenly, 2,999 feels like an absolute steal, simply because it's being compared to that first anchor. And hey, fun fact, this exact same trick works in salary negotiations too.
Building on that totally warped perception of value, we've got the endowment effect. This is this wild psychological phenomenon where you value an item more highly simply because you own it. It really highlights the absurdity of human commerce, honestly. Sellers will systematically demand more money than buyers are ever willing to pay for the exact same identical items. We literally attach our ego to our possessions, instantly inflating their worth in our own minds the very second they belong to us.
Moving on to Section 2, the pain of losing. Why losses sting twice as much.
Listen, if you take away just one number from this entire explainer, make it this one, 2x. 2 times. Behavioral economist Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky found that losing feels approximately twice as painful as an equivalent gain feels pleasurable. Losing 1,000 rupees literally hurts you more than gaining 1,000 rupees feels good. This loss aversion is exactly why investors will desperately hold on to their losing stocks just to avoid the final loss of selling, while simultaneously selling their winning stocks way too soon.
And this is the absolute core of prospect theory. We don't look at our absolute total wealth when making decisions. No, we look at relative potential gains and losses from wherever we happen to be standing right at that moment. And interestingly, the pain of a loss actually diminishes as the losses get larger because, well, you start to adapt to the pain. Ironically, this is exactly why people gamble even more when they're losing. That incremental sting kind of fades, and this desperate search for a relative gain just completely takes over.
That deep fear of loss creates these classic, honestly ironic situations, like saying, well, I already paid for the gym membership, so I have to go. Welcome to the sunk cost fallacy. The money for that membership is already gone whether you go to the gym or not. But we constantly let past investments, money that has completely vanished into thin air, dictate our future choices. We'll just continue to pour time, energy, or money into failing projects purely because of what we've already spent.
All right, Section 3, the value of right now. The ongoing war between our present and future selves.
Okay, let's play a game. If I offer you 50 rupees today or 60 rupees next week, which do you choose? Most people take the 50 today, and this perfectly demonstrates present bias.
We disproportionately prefer immediate rewards over slightly better future ones. Honestly, it's the exact same logic behind the phrase, "Oh, I'll start saving next month." Our present self is just constantly robbing our future self.
But look at how easily we can trick our own brains. If I ask instead, would you prefer 50 rupees in 52 weeks or 60 rupees in 53 weeks, almost everyone completely flips and chooses the 60. This is called hyperbolic discounting. Think about it, the logical wait time between the two choices is exactly identical, 1 week. But because both options are pushed way out into the future, that impulsive temptation is gone, and a rational brain finally gets to take the wheel.
Now, while we're out there sacrificing the future for the present, we often incur debt. And the psychology of debt is downright terrifying. High-interest debt creates this chronic, low-grade psychological stress that actually activates the exact same neural pain centers in your brain as literal physical pain. Crazy, right? This continuous mental tax heavily impairs your overall decision-making capacity, basically trapping you in this vicious cycle where bad financial choices lead to stress, which then naturally leads to even worse choices.
Let's move to Section 4, Mental Traps and Others. How crowds and our own egos cloud our judgment.
Did you know studies show that 80% of drivers consider themselves above average? I mean, that is a literal statistical impossibility, and it perfectly exposes overconfidence bias. And guess what? It translates directly to money. Most individual stock pickers vastly underperform the basic index funds they're trying to beat, yet a staggering 74% of them believe they will magically outperform the market. Our ego simply blinds us to statistical realities. And man, when our overconfidence meets social proof, disaster strikes. Think of the dot-com bubble, the housing bubble, or the massive crypto craze. These are textbook examples of herd behavior. Our financial decisions are heavily influenced by what everyone else is doing around us. The sheer fear of missing out, good old FOMO, on what your neighbors seem to be profiting from will completely override any rational calculation or risk assessment you might have had.
Furthermore, we assess risk terribly because of something called the availability heuristic. Basically, we judge probability based on how easily examples come to mind. A plane crash is vivid, it's terrifying, and it's highly memorable in the news, making us massively overestimate the risk of air travel. Meanwhile, car crashes are statistically way more dangerous, but because they're common and less dramatically publicized, they're less available to our memory, so we feel perfectly safe driving. We are literally pricing risk based on emotion, not data.
All right, final section, Section 5, beating your own brain. Let's talk about outsmarting your biology.
So what's the solution? How do we actually fix all this? Well, the answer lies in nudge theory. This involves tweaking how a choice is framed to predictably influence your behavior, but without actually taking away any of your options. For instance, behavioral economist Richard Thaler showed that when companies make employee pension schemes a default opt-in, meaning you're automatically enrolled unless you actively choose to leave, savings rates absolutely skyrocket. They're essentially using our own human laziness to dramatically improve our financial futures.
And the best part is you can apply this to yourself. The absolute ultimate solution to present bias is to completely remove the present biased human, that's you, from the equation entirely. Automation is your new best friend. Step 1, auto-save a portion of your paycheck. Step 2, auto-invest into index funds. Step 3, auto-pay your bills. By setting this all up just once, you're exploiting the exact same lazy biological system that usually causes you financial trouble, but now it's working to build your wealth automatically. When you automate, you start to realize the core takeaway of this entire explainer. Understanding these psychological biases doesn't just make you smarter about money, it could literally make you wealthier. Once you've fully grasped that your brain is hardwired to make you panic sell, buy junk just for free shipping, and value the present over the future, you can start building systems to protect yourself from yourself. Honestly, diagnosing your flawed biological wiring is the ultimate key to true financial empowerment. So I want to leave you with this one question to think about. Which of these biases have you caught yourself doing today? Was it mental accounting, present bias, maybe a little sunk cost fallacy? Because awareness really is the absolute first step to changing your financial trajectory. Take a moment to reflect on your own habits, audit your automatic decisions, and hey, if you found this explainer valuable, please share it with someone in your life who really needs to hear it. Thanks for learning with me today.